Last week was dubbed the Battle of the Marches. Just when it looked like his campaign was starting to lose a bit of steam, MDC leader Nelson Chamisa pulled a massive crowd in Harare. Thousands of Chamisa supporters hit the streets and walked to the ZEC offices demanding electoral reforms. It was one of the biggest demos we have seen from the MDC. In fact, it was a rare one. Ahead of the elections in 2013, former President Mugabe even banned some rallies, saying that they could interfere with the polls. And just one day after this big MDC march last week, ZANU-PF tried their own march. How did that go? Well, let's just say ZANU supporters don't want to talk too much about it. In the game of numbers, since hitting the campaign trail, the president has pulled in the biggest numbers thus far. This was a crowd in Mutoko. The Commissariat Department will be working overtime to ensure those numbers translate to votes. Chamisa then launched his manifesto. His speech was well received and said the stuff his supporters love to hear. There was a major shocker. For the first time ever, the ZBC broadcast live an opposition event. The fact that we even have to praise ZBC for doing this shows how far behind we've fallen as a country. This really should be standard. Now that we have both manifestos of ZANU-PF and MDC, we can talk a bit about what these parties plan to do. There's actually a lot of stuff that these two parties agree on, but there's also a lot of stuff they disagree on. The MDC plans to grow the economy by 10% every year for the next 10 years. ZANU-PF is looking at 6% growth per year. On the cash situation, both parties agree that we can't keep using the US dollar forever. They both want us to have our own currency, but they have different ways of doing this. First, the MDC wants to get rid of the bond note right away, but ZANU says the bond note will only go once we increase production enough. Second, the MDC says we must join the Rand Monetary Union. This basically means eventually introducing a Zimbabwean dollar that is pegged to the Rand. ZANU doesn't want to adopt the Rand. They say that it won't solve the problem. They want to keep the current system until economic conditions allow us to have our own currency. Both the president and Chamisa are promising higher pay for civil servants, but neither of them says just how they plan to pay for all of that. Remember, 90% of our budget already goes to salaries. On land, the MDC suggests it will compensate white farmers for land. ZANU-PF only wants to pay for land developments and nothing more. Well, in short, Chamisa's manifesto received a lot of praise. Even his critics said the manifesto was well researched. However, here on POV, we make sure to always give you the facts. Sections of the Alliance Manifesto were lifted directly from the South African Constitution. The Corporate Governments Act is a near carbon copy of the section on public administration. Hard to believe that a party full of lawyers would go the plagiarism route. The thing with both manifestos, though, is both of these parties kind of make a lot of assumptions on how to fund all of these nice promises. They assume that minerals will always fetch high prices. They assume that FDI will always flow in. They assume that we will get debt relief. Not many plan Bs in there. But you know what? Finally, at least this week, we were debating issues and not insults. You know the one sign that we're deep into election season? Opinion polls. Now, each time elections come around, we get a lot of them. But should we believe them? Well, last week, a poll by an outfit called Pan-African Forum predicted Mnangagwa would get 70% and Chamisa would win with just 24%. Now, it's hard to believe this one. Not because of the figures, but because the guy that runs this outfit used to run PR for ZANU-PF back in the 2000s. We had two other surveys this week. We had this one. Kenya's Trends and Insights for Africa sees the president winning it by 68% to 19.5%. But again, these guys got a lot wrong in their predictions on the Kenyan election just last year. We also had the Afrobarometer report. This one says 42% of those polled said they will vote for the president. 31% said they will vote for Chamisa. But then 26% didn't say who they will vote for. Usually that's a big red flag for the incumbent. Now this begs the question, are surveys accurate? In 2013, one newspaper ran a survey by an American pollster saying Tsvangirai would get 61%. Well, it was Mugabe who ended up with 61%. Let's not even mention all those Babajukwa surveys. Those ones really embarrassed a lot of folks. What we do know is that Afrobarometer got a lot of stuff right in past elections. Freedom House of the US also got the winner right in 2013. So this is something our parties need to sit up and look at. Here's another sign that elections are getting closer. Candidates are wearing cowboy boots and addressing rallies sitting on their bodyguards' shoulders just to be visible. But most importantly, a lot of parties start splitting and candidates start losing it. What is happening in the National Patriotic Front? It looks like one faction of the NPF wants to join the MDC. They endorsed Chamisa and called for a press conference to tell us that they'd fired Ambrose Mutineri as party leader. While we were still wondering what was going on, Mutineri held his own press conference. He says, "No, I'm still the leader of the NPF. Mutineri's people say the other group is being financed by Grace Mugabe. They even claim that Grace wants to join the MDC Alliance." Imagine Dr. Mai in a red t-shirt, marching for change, telling us ZANU-PF has failed, shouting, "Chamisa chete chete and God is in it." God forbid. We keep telling you that Zim politics will truly make you dizzy. And this is where Chamisa needs all the wisdom he can get. Yes, he needs every vote he can get, but at what cost? Can he really risk getting into an alliance with the NPF, with all their baggage? At a rally in Winenzi, he said Mugabe is free to join the alliance, but not as leader. He has decisions to make, but what he doesn't have is time. It's now just a few days to go into the nomination court. Now what does this mean? It means that the MDCT has only a few days left to sort out all of its outstanding issues on candidate selection. It also means that time is running out to close a deal with the alliance partners. By now, every candidate must be in place. With a few days to go, the Kupe versus Chamisa battle for the name and symbol of the MDCT is still on. That needs sorting out. As for the alliance, it's time to decide who's in and who's out. Some of the NPF guys are desperate to jump in. But how will any NPF candidates be included now that the MDCT has picked most of its candidates? And who else is coming? Chamisa says he has invited Joyce Mujuru to join the MDC Alliance, but she's still not too sure. Looks like Mai Mujuru is happy just leading her own People's Rainbow Coalition. Would she join the MDC Alliance? Well, the likes of Brigadier Agrippa Mutambara are in the MDC Alliance. There's major beef between Mujuru and Mutambara. Remember Mutambara and others in the ZIM-PF stabbed Mujuru in the back. So she packed her bags and left to form her own party, the National People's Party. In Mujuru's Rainbow Coalition, there's a faction of the People's Democratic Party. These are guys from Tendai Biti's party. They too have a lot of beef with Biti, so they aren't too crazy about joining the MDC Alliance either. So it looks like Mujuru is running out of choices, and fast. And to think, this is a woman who is just a heartbeat away from leading the country. Remember her hugging and dancing with Mnangagwa at the 2004 Congress after she became VP ahead of Mnangagwa. We heard Mugabe telling Mujuru not to be satisfied with just the post of VP, but to aim higher. Here's one woman who almost had it. But now we're seeing her on the streets, campaigning door-to-door in Mavuku, in Glenview, holding small meetings after dark, desperate for votes. Can she turn this around? What does she need to do? We saw a decent crowd at a manifesto launch recently. Can she at least get something out of Mass Central? Or is this the election that she finally waves goodbye to a career and wish she was so close, yet so far? She's about to find out.